What's happening, family? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? So here we are. We didn't get to do a show yesterday because I had some of the engagements. But the big talk of the town now is this red table talk with Jada and Will and August, right? I mean, the red table talk happened between Will and Jada, but it was surrounded this issue or this circumstance or this conversation that Will, or rather that August had with Angela Yee. And so let me say this from the outset that I've seen a lot of jokes being made and whatnot, but let's have some real transparency because like you saw in the intro, we talk, man, we have real conversation. And so I think the thing that we need to be very honest about is at some point many of us have been either Jada, Will, or August, or possibly we have been all three. And so let's not come to this with a holier than thou type attitude or a holier than thou type, persona, as if many of us have not been in in this particular circumstance ourselves. And I would ask that in this conversation, because I've seen all kind of memes and I've seen stuff said, that included Willow and Jaden, and not really anything that has included their son Trey. But let's not bring their children into this, because they're innocent parties in this, and these are kids that had to watch their parents go through a tough spot in their marriage, and a lot of people don't understand the toll that takes on children. And so I would ask that we, first of all, is nothing really to laugh about, but keep the kids, out of this, because we don't even know the trauma that they have suffered behind this, because Will and Jada came to the red table. Well, what about Jaden? What about Willow and what they had to suffer? So just keep them out of this. But let's not pretend like none of us have been in a situation like this. And to be frankly honest, there are some of us that are still in situations like this, or I would even venture to say there are some of us who are actively pursuing to be in situations like this. So let's not come with this holier than thou attitude and this condemnation, but let's have some real conversation around what, to me, it seemed that there were some things that just were left unsaid, because I watched this conversation. So let's get into it, right? So this comes about because August Alsina has this interview with Angela Yee from the Breakfast Club, and in this interview, he relays that he was in a relationship with Jada Pinkett Smith, who he, from his vantage point, it seemed as if Will gave his permission. And so that's how all of this got out. This gets out. And of course, when it gets out, Black Twitter goes in. We don't, we don't miss a thing. We don't miss an opportunity. And let me say this about social media. Social media becomes an outlet or a distraction to keep us from focusing on the real problems in our lives. We will take to social media and jump on the faults and the misdeeds and the transgressions of others to hide away from our own problems, our own struggles, our own issues. And so it becomes an outlet for us where I can point a finger and not having to worry about what's going on in my life. So they talk about yeah, I'm going to talk about, yeah, it is happening in the church, and it's happening in the church right now. But I'm gonna talk about that. But so Black Twitter, goes in. They take it, and when they take it, they run it to the ground, right? And And so, I'm seeing all of this stuff, and I just watched the Red Table Talk, which was like a little over 11 minutes. I watched it yesterday, I believe, or day before, um, because I want to see what has to be said, and I want to hear what has to be said from Will and Jada's, because all we've heard is August Alsina's position. So it seems that it started out all innocent enough. Doesn't that sound familiar? They all start out innocent enough. We've all started out something, and it was strictly innocent in its inception. He reached out to them, or they got in touch with him somehow, because he was dealing with some health issues, and by all accounts from Jada and Will, it seemed that he was going through some mental health issues, and they were reaching out to him to kind of assist him while he's going through this situation, while he's going through this problem. Now, let me say this. The worst thing that you can do. Now, I know it's said. Let me say it like this. I know that it's said that if you want to find relief, or you want to take away from your issues, put your eyes on somebody else, try to help somebody else in their struggle, and that sounds good. But this is the thing: you can't put somebody back together if you're broken yourself. And so if you are broken, you had to, if you're broken, it's hard for you to help somebody else really put themselves together. You have to be in a place of some semblance of wholeness, some place of wellness to help somebody else get well. And so they are reaching out again. I'm sure it was innocent. I'm sure the motives were pure in the beginning. They wanted to help August. But in her reaching out to help him, she's in her own broken state. And I think the mistake came in because, especially if you're broken inside a broken marriage, don't invite somebody of the opposite sex into your home. Even though it's innocent, there's always that room there that something could happen because you are in a broken state, in a broken marriage. And we heard them say they were in a broken place in their marriage. And so bringing this young man in, and him not being a part of that, him not trying to do anything. Jada made it very clear he was not a home wrecker. But their marriage was in a broken state, and she was broken within that broken marriage. And so they invite this young man in. And I just think that just adds fuel to the fire. So, she talks about how, he comes in, and he has this issue, and she wants to help him. And she's broken, and they're in a broken marriage. Now, let me say this, because there is this conversation going out there that Jada, was predatory in her actions. I think that's taking it a bit far. I do not think that she was predatory. I do, however, believe that she was, from what I heard her say, I do believe she was the initiator of the entanglement. And definitely, I know y'all are laughing and y'all are making all of these jokes about her use of the word entanglement, and I'm going to talk about that too. But definitionally, she used the right word. It's not the word that we wanted her to use, but definitionally, she used, the right word. So, they're broken, and so people are saying that Jada was, predatory. I don't necessarily believe that she was predatory, as much as I believe she did initiate the situation. And there's some debate about whether she initiated or he initiated. I don't have anything that would say that he initiated the relationship as much as she initiated the relationship. Yeah, no doubt, Vega. They all were damaged. There's no doubt about it. They absolutely were all damaged. And so I think she initiated the situation, and she again, it was not predatory. This is a person in a broken marriage, and she is broken within this marriage, and she is looking for um, some sense of, as she would say, she wanted to feel good. Now, I have to be honest with y'all. When I heard her say she wanted to feel good, I did laugh because I just thought about that scene in Monsters Ball with Halle Berry, where she is, saying to the guy, make me feel good. If you've never seen Monsters Ball, check it out. But that's what came to mind. Y'all have to forgive me. When I heard her say that, that's the first thing that went to my mind. But she wanted to feel good, and August was a target of opportunity, if you will. And so, they get involved in this relationship. Now, Will is sitting at the table, and Will says, let's just be honest. Let's talk about what it was. And she uses the word entanglement. I don't think Will wanted her to use that word either. I think he wanted her to say what it was. And she never did go anything beyond a relationship. Now, I don't remember August saying that they were involved in a sexual relationship, and I don't remember Jada alluding to the fact that they were in a relationship, but they definitely were in a relationship. And for us, for a lot of us men, it's not cheating if it's not physical. But a woman sees this totally different, because if it's emotional, for a woman, a lot of times it's worse if it becomes an emotional attachment or an emotional entanglement versus a physical entanglement. Because a physical entanglement is easy to walk away from. But when it's an emotional entanglement, we're just going to use the word Jada used, when it becomes an emotional entanglement, it becomes harder to pull away. And again, I want us all to be very honest. There are many of us who have been involved in this very situation. And the reason that we're making these jokes and why we're trying to make, levity of these situations is because we have been there ourselves. We've been in these situations. We've been in these entanglements. And right now, some of y'all are entangled in your DMs right now. If we gonna be honest, let's just listen. This is the brown table, and we come to break bread, and we come to sip some tea, and we gonna spill a little bit too. So let's just be real. Some of y'all right now are entangled, and it become, and if we're going to be honest, it becomes hard to pull away. And so we laugh because we're really trying to hide our own scars. We're trying to hide our own hurt, our own pain. We're trying to cover up our own misdeeds. And it levity or laughter becomes a way for us to kind of cope with us being in a difficult conversation or a difficult environment. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. My mother, if anybody knows me, everybody knows I'm a mama's boy. I love my mama. But one thing about my mother, if she's in a uncomfortable conversation, she'll laugh, not because the situation is funny to her, but that's her mechanism that puts up a wall, if you will, to kind of protect her from this uncomfortable conversation. It's not one of those It's one of those I'm uneasy type laughs, and I can always, I can tell because she always has this look on her face, and if I see it uncomfortable because I'm her son and I love her, I'll try to either change the situation or I try to, get us out of that situation. And so I think some of us are making light of the situation, not because we necessarily think it's funny, but we're trying to protect ourselves, and we're trying to keep other people from thinking that we're in the same situation. But I want you to know your slip is showing. I want you to understand that people can see your draws. We know that none of us are all innocent in this, and so we're trying to make light of a situation that's real. So let's look at this. So they're having this conversation. Jada says they were in this entanglement. And I'm looking at this and I'm watching Will's body language. I'm watching his facial expressions. I think from, what I'm seeing in Will's face is Will, because it looked like to me, now this is just me, it looked like he just finished crying. Like he had just, had a fresh cry, like he was still, hurting from this thing. And what kind of bothered me about it was, it seemed like he was still dealing with it, whereas she had kind of moved on from it. It seemed to me like it was still fresh for Will, and she had already moved past it. Now, mind you, from all accounts, this had happened years ago. I don't know why August Alsina decided to, bring it up now. Maybe it's part of his healing or his going on, moving on with his life. I don't know, but it seemed as, it seemed as though this happened years ago, but it's fresh news to us. So of course it's going to, be all over the social media and all of that. But looking at that conversation, it seemed like Will was still hurting from this, whereas for her, it was like, I'm, I moved past it. And what makes that, kind of ironic to me is most times it's the man who's able to just, move past it. Hey, I told you I was sorry. I told you I was wrong. Okay, we're done with it. Let's move. And the woman is still sitting there like, really? That's how that's what we doing? You don't even care. Just because you said you're sorry, you think that's it's over. We still have to deal with my pain. We still have to deal with my hurt. And it seemed like that's where Will was. It seemed like he was like, yeah, we have not discussed this in some time, and we said that we moved past it, but it doesn't seem like they really dealt with it, because here it is again. And for me, I'm going to be honest, he said to her, I don't know if y'all saw this, but he said to her, let's just call it, no, he says, I feel like the husband that's before the cameras, and I'm sitting with you as you share with the world your transgressions. And she says, I don't know if I would call it a transgression. Well, what is it? If it's not a transgression, no, I agree, Vega. He certainly probably was embarrassed. And I figured he could have opted out of coming to the red table if he wanted to, or he he didn't have to. I guess he didn't really have to be there, but him wanted to support his wife. I guess he decided to come. So I'm sure he was embarrassed again, because this happened years ago, and they did not think that they would have to, I'm sure, deal with this, this many years later. But she does not admit that this was a transgression. She says, I don't think it was a transgression, and she goes on to say some philosophical type stuff about, it helped her to grow or whatever. But at the core of it, we've got to admit this was a transgression. And I don't think you can move past this and towards healing if you don't admit it was a transgression. Now, if you don't want to call it an affair, I'm cool. Whatever. But not to acknowledge that it was a transgression, I have a problem with that, because it's a transgression. You went beyond the bounds of your marriage, and you sought happiness not from within, but from without. Not only from without yourself, but from without of your marriage. And so for me to not acknowledge that it was a transgression is, to me, not to really acknowledge what happened. And maybe that's part of what August is feeling, because there seems to be this denial of the relationship. There seems to be a denial of the intimacy of it all, because he talks about, and this is the thing. I want us to go back to this, and I see your comment, Blue, and I'm gonna bring that up in a minute. He went to them for help during what seemingly was a mental health crisis, but can you imagine how this situation has added to the damage of his mental health? I mean, because they're not even acknowledging, what the situation was. Let's look at some of your comments here. Blue says, drain the emotion to grieve the change and choose to give yourself closure. This is where a person's strength has to grow to begin a new different definition of their life after the change. A lot of people try to make soulmates out of a person that was intended to simply be a teacher. A lot of people don't give themselves grace to make mistakes. There's a lot in there. That's true. We don't give ourselves the grace to make mistakes. And I'm gonna tell you what my philosophy is, because I think there are bad mistakes. I think there are mistakes, and then I think there are bad decisions. Mistakes are things that happen not knowing what the consequences are. Bad decisions are knowing what the consequences of a decision is, but still deciding to make the decision anyway. And so what a lot of us have masked as mistakes are really poor judgments and bad decisions, because I don't believe that Jada did not know what the consequences of these actions would be. And so she made, even in her broken state, she made a conscious decision to step beyond the bounds of her marriage, to seek that piece of her that was missing, that Will nor August could have given her. It was something that she was missing from within herself, that only she could fulfill, that only she could bring that piece to her, to bring some type of healing to herself. And so she made this conscious decision. And so, when I listen to this, I see the struggle with calling it an affair or an extramarital relationship, and again, using the word entanglement definitionally. Gotcha. I got you. Definitionally, she was right in using the word entanglement. But let's be honest, because if you're coming to the red table, and this is the red table, is that place of honesty, is that place of truthfulness. Let's be real honest about it. Let's see what question Maria asked that you were answering. It says, Maria asked, so how do you deal with this when one seems like they have moved on while the other hasn't? That's difficult. That's difficult, because in the other person recognizing their transgression, there comes some remorse, and then there comes repentance. And with repentance comes not only a change of mind, but there also comes a change of behavior. And so in order for us for us to move past this, there has to be honesty on both sides. And you have to acknowledge that you hurt me. If you can't at least acknowledge that you hurt me, at least acknowledge my pain. Acknowledge my pain, and then let's figure out, you know, how each of us contributed to the pain. If that's the case, let's look at how we both contributed to the pain, and then let's figure out how we want to move past it, if we are looking to move past it together. Because there are some people that really, they are not looking to move past it at all. Or rather, they're not looking to move. They're looking to move past it, but they're looking to move past it without you. And so that's the thing that you have to really ascertain, you know. And I think when we listen at Will and Jada, you know, Will said, you know, very frankly, he was nearly done with her, or not nearly, he was done with her at that point. And they tried to separate, but you know, they just couldn't stay away from each other, and so they came back together. And I think in that coming back together, you have to be honest about what drove the wedge in the marriage. And then you have to acknowledge even though she says it wasn't a transgression, it absolutely was a transgression. You have to deal with the transgression that happened, whether you were together or separate. Legally, you were still married. And I know they don't use the word marriage; they use the word life partner, yada yada yada. At the end of the day, it's a marriage, and you have to, you know, ascertain, or you have to determine if this is what you want to do. Um, Alfonso says, my question is, in your opinion, who is the guilty party and who is the victim in the situation? Oh man, that is the question that is on the brown table, right? Ooh. Oh man, who was the guilty party? So let me say this. Let me answer the latter before I answer the former. I think they're all victims in this situation. I think August is a victim. I think Will is a victim. I think Jada is a victim. And indirectly, the kids are a victim, even though they've done their best to keep the kids, you know, out of this and out of the limelight. I think when you look at this, they were all victims. Now, who is the guilty party? That's difficult for me to answer. And I'll tell you why I'm struggling with who was the guilty party. Because while I believe that there is guilt to be laid at somebody's feet, if we approach it from who is guilty, it kind of removes the compassion and the grace and the mercy that should be shown to the people in this circumstance. Because again, admittingly, Jada was broken and she was in a broken situation. And so in her brokenness, she had this transgression. And so when I look at this, it's hard for me to point a finger, even though, you know, I think for some people it's easy, you know, Jada's guilty, you know, August is guilty. I think when you look at this, all of them were victims in this situation. You know, nobody comes out clean in this. And I don't know if I would have a clear-cut guilty party as much as I think they were all victims in this, in some kind, and a lot of people won't agree with that, but I think when you look at it totally, they were all victims. Nia says, were both done with the marriage prior to the entanglement or after. From what I from what I ascertained from the conversation, Nia, they were done before the entanglement, which is what led to the entanglement. Because from what I heard Will say, he was giving her space to go and find what was going to make her happy. Little did he know the thing that was going to make her happy was the thing that he invited into. I shouldn't call him a thing, but the person that was going to make her happy was the person that he invited into his home. And I don't know if necessarily it was intended even to go in that route. It's just, I think it kind of, let me say this, because I had a conversation with a good friend of mine, because I think we're all looking at this, and many of you may have the thought process like me. Absolutely, Alfonso. Absolutely. We should all put our stones down and go right, because none of us are without sin. We're all living in glass houses. As I've said many times, in this conversation, each of us has either been Will, Jada, or August, or all three at some point in our lives. Many of us have been there. What I think we're looking at is, many of us want to point to this guilty party, and I don't know who the initiator necessarily was. From what I saw, it seems to me that Jada was the initiator. But this is the thing, and they were both adults. They both consenting adults. And while there might not have been an aggressive initiator, neither of them did anything to stop it when they saw where it was progressing. And if we're going to be honest, many of us can see where things are going. Many of us can see when situations are turning out different than we wanted them to. Again, they start out innocent enough. They're just, they're innocent at their inception. But then we notice the shift in this circumstance or this situation or this entanglement, but we don't do anything to stop it. And I think that's because some of us like the way that it's going. Let's see. Amber says, what's interesting to me is, from a Christian perspective, all of this is understandable when you look through the lens of grace. Grace does not mud over nor excuse the offense, but it alludes to mercy and covers what's indeed punishable. I have a serious issue with those who were quick to catch amnesia. Absolutely. Again, there were many people, because let's be all the way honest. There are some August and Wills sitting right in the church. They're gonna be on Facebook in somebody's cyber sanctuary tomorrow, and there is a Will there that is not knowing what's going on, but we in the faith community are going to act like, we'll throw stones at Will and Jada because they're easy targets, but we won't talk about the Will and Jadas that's sitting in our pews. That's and if I could, Lord have mercy, let me step real lightly here. We're not going to talk about the Will and Jada that's standing in the pulpit. I think I said too much. I'm gonna leave that right there. But we have to be honest, because what happens out there happens under the cloak of Christianity. And see, in those cases, we want grace. But this is what I figured out. This is what I have figured out. People that don't show grace are often the ones that want grace. And I'm not trying to be mean and I'm not trying to be ugly, but it's hard for me to show grace to people that won't give grace. You see, you want people to give you the thing that you're not willing to give to others. You want to make people seem perfect, or you want to hold people to a standard that you're not willing for people to hold you to. And that goes to the whole deal when Jesus, again, I'm going to it because I'm of the faith community. When Jesus says, don't judge, what he's saying is, be sure that the measuring stick by which you measure someone else is the same measuring stick that can be used against you. Don't come with a different standard for yourself than you have for everyone else. Because now, if you don't want to be measured by the measuring stick you have given out, you might want to keep that measuring stick in your pocket. And see, we kind of forget that we've all been there, that we've all had these instances of it. That's why it's not funny to me. I haven't made any jokes about it. I've seen them and ha ha. But if we're gonna be honest, again, man, none of us really have room to talk. And many of us are laughing to keep from crying because the pain of our entanglement is very real. Let's see. Precisely. And it's not a means of normalizing corrupt behavior, but it is about being humble. To be humble is to be aware. So many of these angles could be dismantled with slow down, Amber. Wait a minute. Now wait a minute. Now don't do that. Slow down. Y'all getting out of hand today. No, man. Oh Lord. If the DMs could talk, have mercy, somebody. Have mercy. Vega says, Jesus said, keep that same energy. No doubt about it. Right. Yeah, absolutely. It says, man, if Apple ever came up with a way to show people you took a screenshot of a conversation, I would be in trouble. Lord Jesus, let's hope that you would keep those screenshots to yourself. I think some of y'all probably need to go into your DMs right now and have people sign non-disclosure agreements, because if they ever bring it out, it's going to be in trouble. And that's the thing that I want people to understand. None of us really have room to talk. Who among us, let's be honest, who among us has not felt some sense of loneliness in your relationship? Who among us has not had some sense of abandonment? Who among us has not been in a relationship where you have wanted something more? And again, it starts out innocent, and you just spark up a conversation with somebody. You're thinking, man, this person has this that my partner does not have. And you're not trying to necessarily get in a relationship with that person, but it starts out innocent. And like I said, when you see that shift happening, nobody really stops it, or you will try to give this half-hearted effort to stop it. And before you know it, it's gone further than you really want it to. And sometimes you've gotten so entangled that it's hard to pull yourself away. Because if we're going to be honest, again, we're at the brown table, we break bread, we sip some tea, and we spill some tea. If we're going to be honest, there's something about that entanglement that we like. And because let's be honest. How many of us have walked away, right, from whatever this entanglement is? You've walked away from it, but something draws you back. Or when your significant other pisses you off, you go right back to that entanglement. And see, and that's the thing that I want us to understand. I'm not trying to make fun of the situation. I'm not trying to make light of it, because it's serious. Because again, we have to think about the premise that brought this about. August Alsina went to them looking for some help. He went to them because he was in a mental health, from what I heard them say, a mental health crisis. And he went to people that were that he went to them with people who were he went to them suffering a mental health crisis, and he went to people who were suffering from an emotional health crisis. And so his emotional health, their emotional dysfunction with his mental dysfunction, I mean, that was explosive already. It was bound to be, um, something tragic. And so I think we have to be careful in how we approach this thing. See, y'all got me staying here longer than I want to. I was supposed to go over to YouTube, our YouTube channel already, but since y'all are here and y'all just refuse to do the right thing, let me drop this on you. All right, make sure y'all subscribe to the YouTube channel. The YouTube channel link is in the comments. Make sure you subscribe to the channel one more time for all of you out there. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'll be doing some exclusive content over there because I think we're going to call that one the AB experiment. So I want you to go over and join the YouTube channel. But I just wanted to come on and I wanted to be able to talk about some things that I think were left unsaid at the red table. I think Will and Jada were put in a position where they couldn't continue to avoid it because it was littering social media, and people were talking about it everywhere. I mean, memes. The people that are in this meme game, they're quick, man. They don't have any problems. They don't have no problems putting you on blast before it was over. Let's see. Vega says she was trying to put a bandage on her own pain by helping him heal his. Problem is that she underestimated the severity of her own pain, speculatively speaking. No, I agree with you. I think she thank you, Amber. I appreciate that. Yeah, the AB experience. That's me, AB. Huh? Anyway, I think she absolutely underestimated how broken she was. And like many of us, I'm doing a sermon tomorrow entitled, Hiding Amongst the Baggage, and it deals with Saul over in 1 Samuel 10. And I think many of us, we hide amongst our baggage, and we hide amongst the baggage to conceal our true hurt, our true pain, and our true selves. And so it becomes easy for us to hide in amongst the baggage, because the baggage gives us a barrier. It gives us a facade. It gives us protection. So we think it keeps us distant from people. And so she used this idea of helping him to mask her own brokenness, her own pain, and she even said, it comes from this addiction, if you will. She didn't use the word addiction. I can't remember quite the word that she used, but this addiction to help people. And what happens a lot of times is we don't want to deal with our own pain, our own wounds, our own brokenness. So we try to assist other people. I'm gonna tell you a group of people that are real good about that. Preachers. We we mask a lot of our pain in our sermons. There isn't a preacher that I don't know that's worth his salt, that has not preached a sermon intended to help you that didn't already hit him. And a lot of the things that you all are saying amen about, we're saying ouch at, because it hurt us, because we had to step on our own toes. We tripped over our own feet. And so we mask a lot of the pain in our sermons at times, and through helping other people. Because there have been times when I have counseled with people, and as I'm speaking, to this person, I'm listening to what's being said, coming from my mouth. And I'm saying, man, that's helping me. And my talking to, a spouse about what they need to correct, what happened in their marriage, I'm having to kick my own butt, because I'm saying, man, you need to go and do the same thing. And so we, we as preachers, we mask a lot of our pain, and maybe one day I'll talk about it. But I'm not going to even talk. I don't even have time to even get in on that right now. But just know that we hide a lot behind our trying to help other people with their issues, and we deal with this baggage and this hurt, in the dark of night when nobody else can see us. But anyway, listen, I've kept y'all long enough. I just wanted to come on and kind of have some discussion around this red table talk, and some things that I think were left unsaid. I really think that August coming to an emotional unhealthy people during his mental unhealthiness was just a powder keg waiting to explode. And I don't know if right now, honestly, if August is in a better mental situation than when he was before he went there. I think it kind of lent this kind of lent to his mental crises more than it kind of helped. And so he went to a place seeking for help. And from what I'm hearing and what I'm believing, he came out worse than when he went in. And so, we're going to keep them in our thoughts, hoping that they can really make some headway, that things will work out for them, and that things will, be better for all persons involved. I just want us to know that each of us, that many of us, somewhere in our life, we have been Will, we have been Jada, or we have been August. And so I appreciate y'all. I thank y'all for your time. And I hope that you have enjoyed this segment of Cross Talks. Thank y'all for being at the brown table where we break bread, we sip some tea, and we spill some tea. God bless y'all.